Hey guys, today's tutorial will be my updated way of shading using acrylic paint. In the past, I used to do my shading with chalk pastels, as you can see in this video clip from a video I made about 2 to 3 years ago. And for this video, I'll be using the exact same pieces I used to demo my shading in that video, a croissant and a pie base. So when shading with the acrylic paint, I only use 3 colors, a cream for the base, a yellow for the transition shade, and a brown for the darkest shade. To describe how I do this in a more visual manner, I like to think of my shading as a hamburger, where the buns, in this case the cream and brown color, remain consistent whenever you're shading, and the yellow being the patty, being the one that is varied depending on the pastry you're shading. So first, I'll be demonstrating my shading on a croissant. The croissant will have a more vivid yellow to it because it has more butter within the pastry and an egg wash prior to baking, as compared to the pie crust, which should be more of a toned down yellow compared to it. So on the left is a clip from my initial video, and you can tell that the croissant doesn't look good whatsoever. Whereas on the right, you can tell that I'm trying to create a more realistic looking croissant. And the main reason for this, aside from the change in material, is that I started using reference pictures when I'm shading. And reference pictures do play a very large role in influencing how you shade a pastry, because I didn't know that croissants mostly had their darkest spot on the center of those little layers they had, because as you can see on the left, I just blatantly shaded the entire thing brown, whereas on the right, I'm being a lot more careful and focusing the dark brown upon the very center of the croissant. And what I find is that when using acrylic paint for shading, firstly, your clay has to be pre-baked so that you don't lose any texture whatsoever, but secondly, your brush has to be a dry brush, because it allows the color to more seamlessly blend in with each other. Whereas if you use a more damp brush or any form of water, it will just lift off the colors underneath. And that's for the same reason why for the last step, which is the dark brown, I'm waiting for the layers to dry in between. Because while I have been working in very light layers for all 3 colors, this step is exceptionally important because when you're adding a very darker shading, you want to mostly concentrate it upon a single spot. So it's easier to do this without smearing any paint if the layers underneath have been dried. So for the pie base, it's a more traditional shading in the sense that the darkest areas are the edges of the pastry, while the center is the lightest. Therefore, I'll start by putting colors such as the yellow around the edges of the circle before blending it towards the center. And I'm doing this using a dry brush once again, and this will allow me to have more control over the gradual shift in colors. And I'm doing the same thing with the brown shade, focusing most of the color around the edges and softly blending it towards the center, for it to nicely blend in with the yellow and the cream. All while you're doing this, bring down the colors to the side of the pie so that it will be a more realistic shift in color as opposed to just doing the circle first then doing the sides. Because if you do everything in, let's say, all cream, all yellow and all brown, it will allow for a more gradual and even shading throughout the entire piece. And that's all. I hope this video has been helpful, and if it was, do leave me a like letting me know and subscribe for more. Bye guys, I'll see you next time.